Hi. This is off to a bad start already. Hi, welcome to My Nerdy Year, the 12-part series about the nerdiest year of my life. My name is Dan Peck. I am your host. Before we begin, I'm going to introduce my panelists. With me is my wonderful fiance.
Hi.
She is a pastry chef. She is a nerd, and she is adorable. Say hello to Lauren Bergher.
Hi, everybody.
Okay. Also joining us for this episode is a great friend of ours. I was going to say good friend, but you're a great friend of ours.
Thanks, guys. I got upgraded.
Yeah.
Right
You
on
are.
the spot.
Heck yeah.
Excellent. She is a lifetime card-carrying nerd. She has appeared on panels at Doctor Who convention Gallifrey One in the past. Say hello to Bridget Bowes.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
My pleasure. And last and certainly not least, we have a very talented actor. He is a good friend of mine. I crashed on his couch when I first moved to LA. You might know him from Stargate Universe, Ugly Betty, Sunset Overdrive, World of Warcraft, Veronica Mars, and his very enjoyable podcast, Out of the Blue. Please welcome David Blue.
Cross promotion.
Yeah.
What's up?
Hi.
Yo.
So,
I'm trying to sound cooler than I am.
real quick, the point of this series is that 2015 was the nerdiest year of my life. I've been a nerd for as long as I can remember, but for whatever reason, 2015 was just filled with more events than I've ever had, and I felt that it would be great to talk about these events with close friends and just why we love the nerdy things we do. So in our first episode, we will be talking about Star Trek. Now, little backstory. I am a writer for the Family Guy mobile game, and last year we did a Star Trek The Next Generation event. It was a 5-week event. It was completely licensed, and they told us that we'd be getting to write original content for Star Trek. The only problem was I had only seen a handful of the movies, and I'd never watched Star Trek The Next Generation.
I know. It was the one time I thought about I can't be friends with him anymore.
It's really a failing on my father's part because he could quote the original series chapter and verse in college, but he never got me into it. So, long story.
Blame your parents.
That's fine. This is better.
100% your
This is
fault.
better than therapy. It's okay.
I gotta tell you, in this case, we totally blame his dad for everything.
Sorry, Dad. So, in order to prepare for this event, the company that produces the game gave the writers a packet of information, characters you should know, important episodes. But me being the nerd that I am, I decided I was going to start watching Next Generation from the beginning. I went to sit down to watch it, and I said, Lauren, do you want to watch it with me? She said, yes. And within 3 months, we had watched the entirety of Next Gen and all the movies.
That's crazy.
So
We're very good binge watchers.
yeah, it was. Oh my god, we were like on weekends. We were watching
To be fair, I got you into all of Doctor Who in 3 months as well?
Yeah. That took a little longer to get through, but that's because
Only because we weren't living together.
Yeah. So 2015 was the year that I had to become a, air quote, because you can't see me, a Star Trek expert. So today we're going to be talking about Star Trek. So you now know how I got into it. You now know how Lauren got into it. So we'll start with Bridget. Tell us about your first Star Trek memories.
Okay. So the way I got into Star Trek was, I remember I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and I was homesick, and my mom, like a good mother does, went to Blockbuster Video and rented some movies for me to watch while I was laying on the couch. And she rented Star Trek, the motion picture.
Oh.
And from there on, I mean, I was just addicted to Star Trek. I can't remember a time without Star Trek being a part of my life. I flew through TNG. That's really my series, I claim. But yeah, I mean, I think I've seen everything. I actually took a class on it at Georgetown. Star Trek and philosophy. Yeah, true story. Is really,
You can't see
expensive
Dave's
education.
face right now, but he has this very quizzical, interested look.
I'm imagining, like, gotta study for the exam.
Right. That was the best part. Was like we went home and we did were like, oh, let's do homework watching Star Trek.
Well, that was like
No,
because I went to school for television production, and I would tell my parents that I'm staying up till 2 a.m. watching Who's the Boss reruns, but technically I'm studying. It was a multi-camera show. So
it was actually it was a really awesome class because what we did was we would study different philosophical theories and then watch episodes that related to them. So, for example, we studied the different theories of time travel and then watched an episode where they traveled back in time and were able to discuss with a concrete example these very abstract theories. And I think for the most part TNG is a pretty philosophical show.
Is that what you were mostly watching in the class, or were you going back to the original series to watch the more like Cold War era Parable episodes also, or? It
was primarily TNG. We did watch one episode from the original series where a female, her mental memories got transported into Captain Kirk's body because she wanted to be a captain of a starship, and it was so ridiculous that a woman would be a captain of a starship
300 years from now. Exactly. Ridiculous, just absolutely.
But mostly we stuck with TNG because that I feel like really challenged a lot of
and is still relevant and still challenging.
Exactly.
The same concepts.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember we discussed the episode where Data gets put on trial as to whether he was property of Starfleet or he was his own person, and that to me was just one of my favorite discussions, just to try and define what is a person. How do you define that? And it was a really interesting class. So
that's cool.
Sorry, I kind of went
a
little long in my explanation.
No, it's an explanation. It's allowed.
Now, Dave, you've spoken very freely about this on your own podcast, but I know that you are a Star Trek fan ever since you were a wee one. Including themed birthday parties.
Yep. I don't remember where it started, though. I just remember always loving Next Gen. That was mine as well. Although I did watch Deep Space Nine. I didn't enjoy it as much as Next Gen, but Next Gen was like my thing. And so much so that I had the costume, I had the themed birthday parties. That was the first convention I ever went to was a Next Gen convention in Florida.
Which color was your uniform, though?
Oh, I was Riker.
Okay.
Riker. Even though then and now I still can barely grow a beard. I was always Riker.
You were Riker season 1.
No, like I wanted to be like tall, lean into things as you're walking.
No, I think you were Starfleet Riker.
You put your leg up on things?
Yeah, just learning how to step over the chair.
I feel like in my life I'm Tom. I'm Thomas. Oh, I watched it more than you guys did.
Yeah.
His double.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, that's a philosophical thing.
The transporter. Yeah.
I've always wondered. Do you remember the episode?
Yeah. No.
When he was holding his hand when he was over the cliff, if he let go, would that have been murder or suicide?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Right? Years I've been pondering that question. This is what I do at night when I'm home alone.
I'm pretty sure it'd be murder.
Yeah, I'm with you on murder.
I think it's a new category. I think it's just I have psychological issues, and I'm not going to save the life of this man who is essentially me.
It's a very long name.
I think
we'll call it blue syndrome.
Blue
after
syndrome.
You. Yeah.
Thanks.
I would say that if your eyes can see the person, it's murder.
So Prestige.
Spoilers for anyone.
Was that it's so long ago?
But not everyone has seen it. Truthfully,
okay. I give a spoiler alert all the time anyway. I know, but at the same time, if it's been more than 4 years, it's your fault.
Yeah, I've not seen it.
I shouldn't have to be like, okay, so Casablanca, spoiler alert. Like, no, that's your fault. Unless you're like 5.
That's tough though, because I only saw Casablanca for the first time a couple of years ago, and the only scene I had ever seen was the final scene. So I don't even consider that spoiler. I just consider that iconic, and there's a movie before it.
My brother,
it was a great movie.
Planet of the Apes for me. Like the first time I was watching it when I was like 16, he spoiled it in the first 10 minutes.
Oh my god, that movie messed me up as a kid.
More
than anything
or just because of Mark Wahlberg?
No, the original. Like I think I had my first like concept of, oh my god, everyone dies, like for real, just from that. And that movie, like it took me a long time to come back to that movie. There were 2 movies that scared me as a kid. It was that and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And it's not the scene that everyone else is afraid of. Like that tunnel sequence with the LSD stuff didn't bother me. But for the life of me, when Violet turned big and blue, up until 10, 11 years old, I would run out of the room crying. Like, I just could not handle it. And I've since gone back and like, they're just shining a blue light on her face. It's like, I mean, looking at grown-up eyes, but I don't know why that moment scared me so much as a kid.
Yeah, that's
We're
really
all
weird.
scared of weird
Yeah.
things when we're little.
Yeah, it's just the little things that stick out at you. Anyway, Star
Yeah.
Trek.
Deeply
I just always
rooted
loved
fear
it.
of the Quaker Oat Man.
What?
I
So you,
was
do you hate
terrified.
Wilford Brimley then too? 'Cause-
I was terrified of the Quaker Oat Man. I was. And I loved Quaker oatmeal. So once every so often, I would just have to brave the pantry, get the box, and black out his face with a permanent marker.
Interesting.
All right.
No, my Halloween costume's gonna be now.
No longer afraid of his face is so shiny and he looks like a pedophile. I don't know why.
This podcast is brought to you by Quaker Oats. Oh no!
I was always really scared of the Borg. Just trying to bring it back.
Well, they're legit scary
Yeah,
too, though.
legit.
But I appreciate that.
Wait, did you ever get to go to the Star Trek experience in
Yes,
Las Vegas?
the original one before they.
Yeah, before they
Yeah.
closed it. Yeah. And they had this experience where you get onto the ship or the halls of the Enterprise, and these Borg are coming at you. And I was in college, and I remember just being absolutely terrified of these Borg chasing after me, and I, was going to be assimilated. And I mean, it was.
So it wasn't them;
it
it was
was
that
really
you would be
scary.
assimilated.
Yeah.
How
yeah.
depressing is this? I lived in Las Vegas and was not yet into Star Trek.
Oh.
Well, there's a lot to do in Vegas, so it's distracting.
Yes, but this was my spring break trip senior year of college, and there were 4 girls, and I was the only one who knew anything about Star Trek, and I made them all go with me
Yes.
to do the entire thing. We ate at Borg's.
Wait, they just
named.
named
Borgs?
everything Borg?
Sorry, Quarks.
Quarks.
Quarks. We ate at Quarks.
Why would anyone eat at a restaurant called
no.
Borg's? I wouldn't trust that. First of
Yeah.
all, what would it be? Do they even
I'm
eat?
still scared
Chips.
of it, apparently.
I feel
No,
like-
but they did have a pizza in the shape of the Starfleet
Nice.
emblem.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really good.
You'd think it would just be the Enterprise with like
You'd think.
breadsticks as the engines or something
No.
like that.
No.
Have
that
you
was
seen
good.
Dude, pass me a naso.
I feel like we need to make an Enterprise pizza. at some
Okay.
point.
I have done it.
Have you?
also. I'm a huge.
Do you have
just
the
gonna hang my
the
head in
Enterprise pizza cutter wheel?
I don't have that.
All right.
No,
Well,
I know. I keep wanting to
All right,
order
we'll keep it in mind
but
for the holidays
Thank
or
you.
something.
Yeah, my birthday is July 29th. No.
I know you're getting another cake.
Yeah, there you go.
Bo-
Star Trek cake.
we'll give you a Borg cake because everything
No,
is Borg.
don't give me
No, just be the
Borg.
cube. That's all.
That
You know.
would actually be very easy to make and kind of
That's
fun to make.
actually true. Yeah.
Okay,
I can
so
make good cake.
I'm trying to imagine combining both your fears to scare you at the same time, like the Quaker Oats Borg guy. I don't know if that would work.
Clearly it would
he's
be an-
assimilated. Yeah.
Right. Clearly, it would be an oatmeal cake.
Nice. No, I have a thing with oatmeal. You probably heard in the last podcast you listened to.
I'm intrigued
It's
to
a
hear
longer
this later,
story.
but we should get back
Listen
to
to my
Star Trek.
podcast out of the blue, the episode with Heidi Cox, and you'll hear my horrible story with oatmeal.
No,
It was a good
no,
story.
I wasn't like
I'm
molested by
actually
oatmeal.
now-
That sounds.
I'm actually now intrigued enough to go listen to it.
Oh,
so-
great!
And we hope all of you are too. Okay.
One listener at a time.
Moving on. So when watching Next Gen, I had a weird realization. Everything is really nice and pristine and clean, and they wear dress pants. And I mean, I know they're part of like jumpsuits, but they also wear like really nice shoes in carpeted hallways. And I started to look at the other science fiction, especially spaceship-based shows that I watched or movies. So you got like Battlestar Galactica, Firefly, Star Wars, and there's an element of grittiness to space travel in almost everything else that's not with Star Trek. I mean, in episodes of Star Trek, they'll go to less developed societies or they'll run into ships that are damaged. But first and foremost, our main characters are on a luxury liner. So I was starting to wonder, is Star Trek looked upon by these other series as the bad guy? Because when you look at the opposite side on all these shows, it's usually the, shiny booted, polished hallways that are the bad guys. You have the Empire in Star Wars. You have like the Cylons and such in Battlestar. Like, obviously they're mostly robots, but when we finally see the interior of their ships,
Alliance.
they're very shiny. Everything is where it should be. The Alliance and Firefly. So I just want to get your thoughts on this. It's do the creators subconsciously think of Star Trek as the enemy, or is it that Star Trek is just telling a different sort of experience?
Yeah, I think that for me is why Star Trek has such a draw. And because I feel like in a lot of those other series, like Firefly, like even Star Wars to a certain extent, there's always this struggle going on with, you know, it's not quite, but kind of like a post-apocalyptic, like things have broken down and so people are spread out and they're just struggling to stay alive. But the appeal of Star Trek is that the Earth has all come together. We're all doing this for the good of mankind, and there's no poverty. They've eliminated disease. And so everything is just to explore and to make themselves better. Yeah, and I think that's why the ships have such a polish to them, is because, you know, this is their focus now, is to improve mankind.
Well, I was like half expecting like a Roomba to come down the hallway. It's like when they're walking, or the corridors, because they're all carpeted and there's never anyone like with a vacuum at the late night shift. But we never see anything like that. It's just we're assuming that like they're pulling the dust through the air filters or whatever. But it's just, you know, it's always in tip-top condition, except when they're being attacked and then there are, you know, sparks flying. But by the next episode, it's, everything's nice.
To be fair, the Enterprise is also like their top ship of the entire fleet. I feel like when we do see other ships, usually they're not quite as pristine as the Enterprise.
I want to go back to something that you said, because that's what I always found interesting, because I agree. You're like, oh, this is the pinnacle of humanity. But when you look at the story structure of it, what they essentially did was go, you know how like we're racist as humans and we have poverty, and they went, what if all humanity's together, but now the Klingons are who we're racist? All they did was take all of our problems and just put it on other alien things. It's the same exact things. They just kind of went, well, no,
one planet at a time.
Yeah,
like we have solved our problems.
Planet. There's the nice planet. But sorry, go ahead.
I think I always just saw it as, you know, Mac versus PC.
Whoa, please continue. What?
Star Trek, it's shiny and clean and white like a Mac. Everything else has a lot of cables everywhere like a PC.
That's true, because you usually do build your own PC, and then, you know, on Firefly, it's like they constantly needed parts or, you know, things like that, or, you know.
But it's also, you know, we started off with PCs. Mac was a latecomer to the game. If you look at, say, a spacecraft now, or a spacecraft in the 60s or 70s, it's a lot of switches and a lot of cables and a lot of wires that are all visible everywhere. And it takes a lot of tech knowledge in order to be able to keep it running. The Mac is user-friendly and it's streamlined.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by Mac.
No, I see that. I guess I feel like a lot of the other sci-fi shows have a very dismal outlook, and I feel like Star Trek has a very hopeful outlook on at least the human.
But what that is, like
the future of humankind.
It's interesting because I actually never thought about this, but like it's reverse apocalypse, because anything that we do nowadays, even a show like Legends of Tomorrow, which is a show.
I love
it is a show. We'll leave it at that. It's a show.
I'll leave it at that. Hey, I want to be on it, but anything, even like Terminator or whatever, we get to this pinnacle of our society, and it's beautiful and clean and pristine and sterile, and then it falls apart, and then we're like Mad Max. And Star Trek was kind of the opposite, or these comparisons are the opposite of that. In a way, I don't think they would look at them as like the enemy or as the Empire. They would look at it like, remember when things used to be good. To me, it would be Star Trek and beautiful, and then huge war would break out. Now we're all pirates and ravagers. Boom, Firefly.
For one brief shining moment, it was known as Star Trek.
Yeah, that's the pessimist in me, though. It's
sad.
all beautiful, and then we messed it up.
Yeah.
Well, that is what we tend to do.
I mean, that is what happens in a lot. I mean, you look at any of the mirror universe. Huge nerd.
No.
Any of the
that's
mirror
why you've been
universes,
invited to be a part of this.
or whatever. And it's like, what's the thing? Is other than goatees, darkest timeline style. It's now things are war and horrible. Like they go to the planets and things are still terrible. It's just, I think it's because it's military. When you really look at it, Starfleet is military.
Definitely.
So that's going to have to keep things clean, like the Picard maneuver to make sure you don't have wrinkles, that kind of thing. You know, I think it's more that than it is that society is just that beautiful.
I think it's also that Star Trek, it's all very shiny and it's all very streamlined and it's all very clean. They never really touch on the underside, the stuff that it takes to keep it going, the stuff that it takes to keep it clean.
Yeah, every so often we'll see someone working in like the Jeffries tube, but they never have grease on their face. It's always like, I'm looking at my pad. Oh, this needs to be changed. That was me popping
Maybe
out.
they don't have grease in the future.
That's true. Some sort of futuristic.
I don't want to live in that future.
Well, considering right now we're trying to figure out how to bioengineer mucus, fake mucus, You know,
Cool.
I doubt we're ever going to get to a point where there's no grease. Grease is too useful.
Well, we don't know how dilithium, what it needs. What does it need? Dave, you probably know.
Crystals.
Hey, all grease is a coolant and an anti-friction medium.
No, it just makes bacon taste good.
That too.
Bacon
Love
makes itself
bacon.
taste good.
Grease helps.
But does replicator bacon taste good? Do you think the replicator incorporates the grease, or is it just like pig part
Interesting.
cooked?
I
This
can't
is-
imagine anything tastes
These
good.
are the questions that I
I think it's like
wonder.
Jetsons, where it gives you the nutrition, and that's it.
Yeah, that's what I always imagine it. Of like,
So there's this new thing that they've invented. It's a veggie burger that actually simulates meat, and it's because there's this molecule that they've isolated in meat called heme or heme. It's HEME. But basically, they're figuring out how to recreate that in plant matter from the protein in plant matter and put that into a veggie burger so that a veggie burger will actually appeal to a meat eater.
but why don't you just eat meat?
Because they're
some
trying to
peop-
save cows.
Yeah,
That's
all
why.
right.
Well, some people don't
Yeah,
want
no, I'm
to
just,
eat meat.
I'm just giving you a hard time. But yeah, I mean, I feel like
But that's got to be the replicator. You know, it
Right.
creates those molecules.
I always envisioned it kind of, I feel like Firefly addressed it a little bit when they are eating dinner and then they make the birthday cake and she's like, well, it's basically what we just ate. But I tried to get it as chocolatey tasting as possible. That's what I imagined the replicator to be like. It's basically all the same stuff. It has, all the balanced food, but they
So
make it
it's
try
like
and
it's like
taste
when they do the
That's why everyone
the
is
make your
thin
own
in the
Lay's
future.
contest where you can like invent chip flavors, and it's just like they have to figure out what chemical concoction tastes like fried chicken. It's like basically the equivalent of that.
Well, all food
I have a
is the
theory
same.
about that anyway. I think we as society, I think our taste buds are numbing in a way. Because if you look around at specifically fast food, we're making more and more extreme, weird combinations. Like it used to be like pepperoni on your pizza, and now it's like Carl's Jr. Burger with hot dogs, onion rings, potato chips, and mustard. You're like, what happened? Why do we need this cacophony of flavors all of a sudden?
Because America.
Because America.
Because we burned our taste buds off by putting sriracha on everything.
I really honestly feel like we're starting everywhere you go now. Look around, like it's in combining intense flavors. So maybe by the time the replicators come, we just don't have taste buds.
We
And
went
it's
back
Jetson
around.
Style,
Yeah.
we just want
I
the
could
pill.
do an
Alright.
entire podcast just on that concept. I actually wanted to write my master's thesis on the reverse effects of globalization, which is now we have more of an interest in isolated tastes and appellations and things like that, and local identity. And it's a fling back. It's a throwback from globalization and the fact that you can now get Coca-Cola anywhere.
Do you think the outlying planets of Federation have Coca-Cola in the future?
You know, probably.
That would probably be among the first companies.
And
It's like,
McDonald's.
yeah,
And
we're gonna go
This
out.
planet
Yeah.
brought to you by
You know,
Yeah. Well, no,
I
'cause,
guarantee
like,
I guarantee the outlying planets are the first ones to have McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Starbucks. There's
Well,
definitely a Starbucks.
It's a frontier show, so but you could take some of the comforts of home with you. Actually, we were just watching, or I finished watching. Lauren wasn't fully into it, but The Expanse. Did you guys watch
I don't
that
watch
at all?
it yet. I've heard good things. though.
I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to go into any spoiler territory, but one of the characters, he's really kind of obsessed about coffee, because on the ship that he's working on, it just doesn't taste right, like whatever their rations are. And to simulate like that earthy taste to it, he lights a match for a second and then drops some of the ash into it. And then later on, he finally gets real coffee, and it's just this moment of it's almost like he's tearing up. It's like, this is all I've ever wanted since I left Earth. It's just this hilarious
Well, as
moment.
somebody who was on a sci-fi spaceship show,
Oh, where are you now?
who
waiting
they
for
wanted
that
to
ocean.
say that we got this horrible vegetable or something like that from a planet, and they wanted it to be purple. So in order to make it purple, they got like purplish yammy things, and which are as gross to me as whatever we were supposed to be pretending to eat.
Really?
Also, though, if you watch anything I've ever done, I make a really good point of never actually eating on camera. This is a little trick. Go back and watch anything. You'll see that like maybe once ever I've ever actually eaten. I find ways to play with my food.
Is it is it like the way Cookie Monster doesn't eat, where you just kind of like
No, I play with it. I move it around.
mash it
Or
up
I-
so much because he doesn't have an esophagus hole?
Yeah, I just inhale it.
and it's just crumbs everywhere.
No, I just
watch
I'll
Sesame
go to
Street.
eat and then I'll talk or I'll like play with it a bit. Usually because I'm weird in that I like a lot of variety of flavors. And whatever they usually serve in a scene is either Not something I eat. Like I hate mustard. And every time there's a
Yes,
sandwich,
me too.
Every time there's a sandwich on set, it always has mustard. And I'm not going to be like, hold on, guys, can you make it again without mustard?
I am such a jerk. I probably would. It's my number one. It's my number one most hated
I
food.
can't because I know I shouldn't because I just don't have that ego of an actor. But like, I'm not gonna be like hold up production because I don't want to have mustard.
Because you're a decent person.
Yeah, I know it's causing me so many problems. But I forgot what the point was with this. But the taste buds,
yam.
purple yams.
In the future, we won't have
weird
mustard.
things.
Is the point?
They make purple potatoes. It's not that hard.
They're actually really good.
They
Not that I'm
are.
defending a show you filmed.
You're coming for dinner.
Hey, I
Who's
am what I
making you?
am. Yeah.
I would just like to point out that I was not the first one who made. Oh no, I did make a stupid pun earlier, but it went over everyone's head. So the first pun that went noticed was not made by me, and that's a huge
The trick is to
accomplishment.
make the pun and then highlight it. Yeah. My favorite jokes are the ones where I explain it to people. And
Yeah.
like, this is why it's
The
funny.
secret of good comedy is
Nailed
having
it.
to explain the punchline afterward. That's
Works for
The
me.
exact opposite of the Joker.
I'm anti-Joker.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't
So
know, I think replicator food would. I don't know if I could handle a replicator.
There have been heavy-set characters in Star Trek.
which that actually I did find weird, but go ahead.
So if we have replicator, because look, I'm a fat kid, and if I had a replicator that
you
could
used
make
to be.
anything that I want, no, I still am. I just lost weight, but I'm still a fat kid. Make anything that I want. Let's say that I had one in my house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god! Like, I think the only thing keeping me from eating cake all the time is because I have to make it or buy it.
Well,
I
if
don't-
you'll
I don't.
notice- If you'll notice, Deanna Troy actually has to specify at one point that she wants real ice cream and real chocolate. And the replicator says, oh, that's not healthy for you. Because what the replicator does is it restructures food out of the same basic nutrients that all food has. So it might trick you into thinking you're eating cake, but you're probably not really eating cake.
Soylent Green. No, that's what that makes me feel of Jetsons, like where you wake up and you have like, what are you having for dinner? And it's like the pill,
Yeah.
the nutrient pill. So essentially, it's taking
Oh,
probably
totally.
kale and turning it
Ugh.
into
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
Huh.
It's just
So at
carbon and it's restructured.
At a
It's
certain
reorganized.
point, the replicator would cut you off from cake. It would be
That's
like,
true.
No more cake.
I believe
for
you've
you.
had enough, David.
Yeah.
Or it would just keep giving you like,
No, it's
something that
it's
wasn't
giving
fulfilling.
you something that you think is cake, but really it's not as bad for you.
But
as
see,
cake.
that to me is okay. If they were giving me something that was totally healthy that tasted like cake, that is the idea.
Well, that's the dream.
The goal of life. yeah.
I think that's what the Federation was founded on.
Right.
It wasn't so much bringing mankind together. It was we need to work towards being as like inside fat person as we want to without it reflecting on the outside.
have you seen Defending Your Life? One of my favorite
Yes,
movies.
I love that movie.
Like that to this day, that's my heaven, is just being able to, hey, you can eat anything you want. It's going to taste better than anything you've ever had, and you won't gain a pound.
Well, think of it this way. Deanna at one point has to specify this to the replicator. That means that there is a difference. And
Yeah.
that she
No, absolutely,
realizes
yeah.
as she's eating it that there's a difference. So it subtly doesn't taste quite the same.
Well,
So
it's
it's
like
like
the-
hell.
It's like their booze too. They
Yeah.
always like it's
Their booze
always
doesn't get
it
you
always
drunk.
tastes
Booze.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That,
booze, alcohol,
Synthahol.
David.
Like their boobs are
Synthahol.
fake?
Well, I mean, possibly. I
There's
mean,
synthahol.
Yeah, no, that's not the same. Well, in that way, it seems like torture because they're being forced to not enjoy their taste, not enjoy their meals, not feel anything.
well, but they're also technically military on a ship. They probably shouldn't be drinking during
they're
their
all on
shift.
duty all
And
the
let's
time.
face it, all of this
Yeah.
is better than MREs.
True. And no wonder
But
they
they
get
do.
addicted to the holodeck.
I just want to point out though that Captain Kirk and his crew drank real alcohol and they drank it a lot.
Well, that's
So-
that's also like
Captain
people
Kirk.
used to smoke in buildings in the 50s, but we're a generation or two past that. It's like they just don't do that anymore. Maybe that's what it is. It's
Big argument for
Maybe.
living in
Yeah.
Calabasas, where you cannot smoke in any public area whatsoever. It's
Really?
awesome. Even the sidewalk.
Calabasas is a suburb outside of Los Angeles for people listening around the country and the world.
Also has the best schools in LA, public.
Good to know.
Okay,
far
so
away.
I'd like to move on to our
is
next
far
topic, which is Star Trek adjacent, but I know it's something that we are all fans of, and it is Galaxy Quest, which I know the timing is unfortunate.
We
it
love
was-
you forever, Alan Rickman.
Yeah, that
He
was
was my celebrity crush.
Well,
that
not
was-
just that, but that they canceled the.
But because he
Right.
passed away.
that was just devastating. Just
Yeah.
to hear the news. This year has been terrible for that, but yeah, that one hurt
Yeah, it
really
did.
bad, especially because I mean, it's always on TV anyway, but there has sort of been like a revitalization of Galaxy Quest recently. There was talk of doing a sequel. There was talk of doing an Amazon pilot. But going back to it, truth be told, Galaxy Quest is probably my favorite Star Trek movie. And I was trying to find the article that I had read a few years ago that basically made the argument why Galaxy Quest is the best Star Trek movie. I couldn't find it. I think it may have been IO9 that said it. But now...
Can I just ask real quick?
Yeah.
Did you see Galaxy Quest before you watched Star Trek?
I saw Star Trek Generations on HBO when I was a kid,
Okay.
and I kind of didn't understand it because I hadn't seen either of the series.
Right.
And then I saw First Contact when it was on HBO, and that I loved because ever since I was in 4th grade, I've been obsessed with time travel, so that one made more sense to me. It's also, since it's not spanning 2 eras, it's also just more of a straightforward motion picture than it is anything else. But no, I hadn't seen... like a lot of the original movies I haven't seen in their entirety.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen all of Voyage Home. I've seen all of Wrath of Khan, but never in order. And I know that like the internet just turned on me in that sentence alone. And I've seen the reboot movies, but obviously those are newer. But no, Galaxy Quest, it came out on Christmas, and this is a really quick story. It came out on Christmas, and as someone who does not celebrate Christmas, I was at the movie theater as per my
For
tradition.
those of us who do celebrate
Jewish
Christmas,
Christmas.
we often end up at the movie
Yes.
theater on Christmas.
So
It was Jewish Christmas, darn it.
Chinese food in a movie.
Absolutely. So I was at the movie theater with my dad and my sister, and I don't remember. I think we were trying to go see The Talented Mr. Ripley, but there were only seats available in the first row, and we didn't want to do that. And I had heard about Galaxy Quest. I think I read a review in Entertainment Weekly or something like that. So I said to my dad, let's see this. And he's like, I don't want to see a stupid spoof movie. I said, no, I heard really good things about it. And we actually ran into a friend of mine and his family, and they were going to see Galaxy Quest. So my dad's like, all right, fine, we'll go see it. And not only did my dad love it, it was the first movie he bought on DVD.
Wow.
When DVDs came out, he became obsessed with it. And he had watched all of the original Star Trek series, and I hadn't. And even as someone who didn't get all of the very specific references, it was still immensely hilarious. I got what they were spoofing without knowing like all the nitty gritty, and I've watched that movie 1,000 times since, and it's just as funny
I
every
wouldn't call
time.
it a spoof.
Yeah, I think the great thing about that movie is while it does reference a lot of stuff that happens in Star Trek, I mean, I think it's just a good sci-fi, hilarious
Absolutely.
comedy.
Standalone for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
There are moments,
there are elements of it where they're spoofing, like with
Alan
the,
Rickman is Klingon-esque, you
Yeah.
know. But
and the transporter when they're trying to like figure out how to teleport him off the when he's fighting the rock
and he ends up
monster.
with his shirt off.
Yeah.
Come-
Yeah. Does rolling help was
Like,
my dad's.
yeah.
It's his favorite line from that whole movie.
And the whole, guy, what's my last name?
Yeah.
I'm gonna die.
well, funny enough, that movie inspired me when I got. Because this is how much of a nerd I am. When I got cast on Stargate, the coolest thing was anytime that there would be a device, they would say, "How does this work?" They would hand me like I had a Kino, which is like a remote control camera that I use, and they handed me the remote, and they're like, "How does this work?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" And they said, "Yeah, you tell us how it works, and that's how we're going to use it." And I was like, first of all, way too much pressure. But secondly, being the nerdy dork I am, I immediately went back to Galaxy Quest and said, I have to make this work well, so when an alien watches this and recreates I know how to use it.
Oh my god, you're like the codex for all of these
100%.
devices.
Everything. Every sort of device on the ship,
I think that's
my
the best
remote,
thing I ever heard.
everything. I was like, I gotta make sure it works correctly. All I was thinking was Galaxy Quest the entire time.
Well, the good news is though, if aliens do come and like ask for your help, you can be like, okay, but what I want in return is I want a 3rd season because I want people to find out how the cliffhanger resolves.
Okay. I don't think I told this story ever on my podcast. I've told it at conventions before, but this is how much of a nerd I am and how much I love Star Trek. Have I told you this story before?
I don't know if you have.
I had a Star Trek birthday party when I was
Yes,
younger.
Who did you dress up as?
Riker, always
Oh,
Riker.
right, sorry. Obviously.
We relabeled all the soda bottles Synthanol. Like my friend made her own Guinan outfit. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
And one of the things they bought like this 6-foot cardboard cutout of Will Riker, and he was moving around the party. We were screwing around with it. At one point, he ended up in the bathroom with a streamer from him to the toilet. I don't know.
How old were you at this point?
I was I don't know. I think middle school or high school. I don't really remember.
Well, the streamer
old
in the
enough
bathroom
to
is
where
like
I
the
was
height
in-
of comedy at that age.
I don't actually remember, but at one point, because I wanted this to be a real thing, I think a lot of people, less Firefly or things where people are dying, but like Star Trek where things are pristine and like it's the future kind of thing. You want that to be a real thing, and you fantasize that it is. So at one point, I just was like, "Hey guys, I'm running the bathroom real fast," and I went to the bathroom, and I was peeing. And I went, huh, and I tapped my chest like it was a communicator, and went, "Beam me up, Scotty." And I'm not kidding. At that exact moment, there was a blackout in the entire neighborhood. And my first thought was, I'm going to be peeing all over the transporter. All I can think about. But when Galaxy Quest, all these things, Galaxy Quest might have started it for me. But like this idea that, you know what? How do we know it's not tooling around up there? Yeah. Voyager did an episode of that, like where like that's where UFO things come from, and it hit the news. Like I want to believe that these are things that either are existing or will exist. I'm a nerd.
We would be.
No,
it would be the height of hubris to think that there's nothing else out there. It's an infinite universe.
Yeah, or that we're not capable. Well, I mean, every time we were talking about this recently, a friend of mine and I, like every time we imagine the future, we're like, in 20 years, flying cars. When the truth is, in 20 years, it's gonna be a lot like this. Our phones are just gonna be cooler.
Our phones are going to be implanted in our brains so that we can actually still make eye contact with people and be texting at the same time.
Do you watch Black Mirror?
No,
Oh
I
my
know.
God.
Every person has told me how unbelievable it is. Like, I must watch it.
Black Mirror is fantastic, but there's not to spoil it. It won't spoil anything, but there's one whole episode. Do you guys know what Black Mirror is?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's BBC America Twilight Zone. Each episode is an hour and a half. It's amazing. But there's one in a near future where we have an implant that is kind of like a hard drive for us, so we can record all of our memories and how that affects fights when you're fighting with your loved one, or job interviews. You can scroll back and see what you did wrong or right, and it's just how it affects humanity. It's just such a small thing, but I love it.
It is funny though that, I mean, obviously the communicators are very important to Star Trek, but yeah, they're walking around with cell phones on their chest the whole time.
And it doesn't actually. That's the nerd in me. The one Star Trek convention I went to when I was younger, somebody in the audience asked one of the producers, like, "How come in this episode you were able to do this, but in this episode you weren't?" And he went, "Well, we have a producer named Rick Berman, and anytime that we're like, that doesn't scientifically work, he goes, I don't care, it's cool." So we call that Bermanizing it. And like I have a little problems with a lot of it. Like the communicators, some episodes you have to hit and be like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" Other episodes, it's just always listening.
It's a Hey Siri.
Right.
It's like they didn't really clarify.
Literally, some people have the Hey Siri turned on.
It's called
some
Hey
people
Siri.
don't.
Yeah.
Or even tricorder. Oh god.
Yeah,
the technical side is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But going back to Galaxy Quest, obviously, future plans are probably on indefinite hold because of Alan Rickman.
I'm not going to lie. Dan knows that there are only 3 men, now 2, on the entire planet that I would actually leave him for, and one of them was most definitely Alan Rickman.
Let's not say the other 2 on the off chance that they're listening and
Let's
whisk
hope
her
they're
away.
listening.
Oh, I know what the other 2 are now. I love that movie so much, Galaxy Quest. I hate to say it because I understand them not doing it because of Alan Rickman. I totally understand that. But I hope that they eventually do anyway. And I mean, you can pay an homage to him. But
I agree. I mean, I feel like it's the correct thing to do. And probably whatever premise they had involved him extensively.
Absolutely.
So it's the right thing to do to put it on hold for now.
Yeah.
But I
I
hope
don't
they
think they should do
eventually...
at all?
Nope.
There's so much new material out there that they could
And there's so much
reference.
bad
and,
stuff on
yeah,
TV. We need good stuff.
Yeah, but
I
at the
really
same
feel like it
time-
would be great.
At the same time, they could just take something that we love and kill it.
Yeah,
Like
that's
Batman
that.
v Superman.
So that's. I am of the split mind now. It's like, for a while, it was like all I wanted in the world was more episodes of Firefly, and we've gotten comic books and expanded universe stuff, and it's like, you know what, this stuff is really good too, but maybe it needs to stand by itself. Like, all
How dare you say that? I am so
I
glad
know.
they brought it back for Serenity. That was a great movie.
No, I love Serenity. Serenity's. I'm wearing
Right,
Firefly
but
on my shirt
you could
right
easily
now, but-
argue that I don't want them to bring it back as a movie either.
No,
'cause
but
they
that
might
was
destroy
closure.
it.
Serenity was different because it had an element of closure because it was finishing out a lot of the story arcs that were left hanging from the series. Now, would I take 3 or 4 more Serenity movies? Probably, but if you run the risk of spoiling something that's so great, and as much as I love that, like some like TV series are starting to be brought back by streaming services, so far it's felt more like everyone's excited on the front end of it, but then when we finally get it, we're like, oh, it wasn't as good as the original, and
because you're trying to capture a memory and a nostalgia that you can't.
Right.
I kind of agree with both of you. Some of the times it's kind of nice to get a closure to something, or some of the times it's kind of nice to revisit. I give everything credit, and I'll watch it just to check it out. And it can be enjoyable on its own. Like Batman Begins was a different way of telling a Batman tale, and I loved it. But sometimes it just feels like you're beating a dead horse because you're not willing to try to come up with a new story.
Right.
You're trying to recapture lightning in a bottle for money's sake, which is never
Like
a good idea to do something.
Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man
I
3
still love
or
that joke
Spider-Man
of
Returns.
Justice League somewhere. Or sorry, Avengers somewhere. Whoops. Sorry, everyone. Avengers somewhere, like everyone's sitting around and Spider-Man walks in and he says, "Hey guys, did I ever tell you about how I became?" And they go, "We know! Oh my god, we know!" We can stop revisiting the same things. I don't think Galaxy Quest is one of those. It's a great movie. You're running the risk of maybe tainting the memory a little bit, but I feel like it's not that no one wants a reboot. No one wants that.
Never.
We want to see these people on more stories.
Yeah.
Yes.
That I think is acceptable.
There are certain people I would trust to do that and do an amazing job. I would never say no to more Firefly because I trust Joss Whedon to make it good and to tell the story well. I'm really looking forward to The Incredibles 2 because he wasn't going to come up with a good story just to come up with a good story. He waited until he had a story. If I don't know who's involved, there's an element of, are they going to completely ruin this forever?
Yeah, and it's also with the original creator, the original person with the idea involved, then you want to see more of the stories, with the exception of maybe like Lucas. But not me. That's the internet saying it. That wasn't me saying it. But in general, I think if it's kind of, I don't want to keep bringing it back to stuff I had worked on before, but like that's why I was a little upset when people were mad at us when we were about to premiere for Stargate, because everyone's like, "What? You're changing it. How dare you?" And I always had to say to people, this is the creator of the thing you liked who wants to do something different. If you liked what he made before, why not see what else he can do?
Yes.
And I just try to have that when I look at new people making things at all. Plus, I mean, just Galaxy Quest in general. You have my money already. I'm going to see it.
I know.
Right. I mean, the same goes for the new Star Trek series coming out. It's an expansion on the universe, and
Right.
I don't know what the concept behind the show is going to be.
Well,
but I
that
know
actually
I'm gonna watch it.
is very interesting. We'll just talk about this quickly because we're getting near the end. But Brian Fuller, who I love as a showrunner, he did Hannibal and Pushing Daisies. He's in charge, and he's bringing in people with absolute bona fides. Like the writer of Wrath of Khan is being brought in to it. So it's like, yeah, it's expanding the universe, but Star Trek has now had 5 series, within its main timeline. Let's just the reboot universe exists, but we're just talking about the series right now. But I think there's plenty of room for expansion in it. It's like, I know not everyone has liked every series, and believe me, I still have a long way to go in terms of watching all of it. But I think, they're an interstellar ship. They are in a new quadrant of the galaxy every week. I think that there is room for really good stories, and I think in the hands of a very capable and talented showrunner that this is something to be very excited about.
It depends what you're doing with it, though, because I'll be honest, I love Next Gen. I went back and watched Original. I watched most of Deep Space Nine, some of Voyager. Enterprise wasn't for me. It depends.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Enterprise?
Yeah.
I watched the first few, and I'm sorry, Connor. I'm friends with a few of the people now on the show now. I just wasn't for. I
It
don't
went
know
up
why.
and down. It ended on a high note, but yeah, it didn't. I don't think it was on the air long enough to find its stride.
I don't find fault in anybody who liked it. I just didn't connect with it.
Right.
Much
Well,
like I connected more with Next Gen than Deep Space
But
Nine.
it wasn't. It wasn't the Star Trek as we know it, so it didn't really quite fit in the franchise.
Also,
so.
from a production point of view, it was UPN was producing it. It was sort of their first foray into giant mainstream science fiction, and I think they had like gigantic budget issues on top of that because it was sort of the first show to use a lot more of the CGI effects, but it was also on a network where they don't really have the money to put all their budget into the effect. And I think it was like a big balancing act. It's like, well, I guess we're gonna have a lot of corridor shots, which is true of every Star Trek series, but when you get hamstrung by technical stuff like that, it's hard to make the story good or interesting or compelling. But
that's
again,
so it's got to be a good story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that I think a lot of people, storytellers nowadays, are doing in the first place. It just has to be a good story and a good idea, and then we'll follow you anywhere.
Good characters.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna start to wind this down. So we're gonna end each of these with what I like to call the big question. Yeah. Oh, totally.
I'm still not ready for this.
That's okay. No, you know what? That's fine. So we're going to just go around, and each person is going to give an answer, and hopefully it's great. No, I don't know.
Wow.
Okay, so
Pressure's
no.
on.
So the big question for this Star Trek episode, our first episode, where we are boldly going. Yeah, I managed to
That
get
was
it.
good.
Yeah, thank you.
But
If you were made captain of any fictional ship, which one would it be, and what would become of the old captain? So we're going to start with Lauren.
My fictional ship I would like to be captain of is Serenity. And in my head, Mal has retired to a farm like his mom wanted him to with Inara and made me captain.
that's a really sweet story.
Would you like to go next, Bridget?
So,
I hope yours involves murder.
right. Well,
Would it help if I
as
said
it
I dropped
happened.
Jane on a
So,
meteor somewhere?
I've been really thinking, and my problem with this is that any ship I come up with, I can't decide what to do with the captain because I just feel like a piece of my childhood would die. So
Well, you don't have to get rid of the captain.
Well, but
Mine retired.
yeah, I mean, I guess I have settled on the Millennium Falcon
Nice.
because we all know what happened to the captain of that ship.
Okay.
So
Chewbacca is the captain of that ship now, okay?
not anymore. He's my co-pilot. So then I get the ship and I get this awesome co-pilot. So yeah, I mean, it's really, there's so many ships. There's so many, I mean, obviously the first one that comes to mind is the TARDIS because you can go anywhere at any time. But I feel like that's an easy answer. And that's the thing. I have no idea what I would do with the Doctor.
You are the Doctor.
It could be the Doctor. I don't know. No, I'm gonna.
Considered a ship.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was asking. I wasn't
That's right.
challenging.
No,
I was
no.
actually asking.
Dave,
Oh,
you're the captain.
you know what's funny? I knew
You're
my-
the captain now.
You're the captain. I knew my answer, but now I just realized how telling it is. I was going to say NCC 1701D,
yeah.
and I just realized how Riker it is of me because I want to take over after Picard retires, and or still in the ship as an admiral. Well, I don't want to outrank me. He's retired now.
He's in wine picking his grapes.
Great
he's
ship.
Sorry, he's in France.
He's in France, or actually, I'd like to believe that he found that planet and he plays the flute and he's just relaxing now.
You guys have such positive outlooks on these people. In my head, they were all like dead, attacked by assimilated.
Well, obviously, I'd have to kill Riker though.
Right.
Just to
Obviously.
take over. No, this is a great ship. Fun to explore with, other than the speed limits, which I just choose to ignore that. Ugh.
That was
mostly the holodeck though. I just want to play on a
things
holodeck.
happen with the
Because
holodeck.
when you're commanding the NCC 1701D, not only do you get to go on those adventures, but you get to do anything your fantasy can imagine.
So
like
these
anything.
wild adventures are not enough for your adventuring
No.
ways.
Can you imagine a world in which you're traveling across the universe and you're exploring other civilizations and you're like, you know what, I need 5 minutes of imagination me time?
Dave, I say this as a friend. You would never leave the holodeck.
No,
You would never leave.
Growing up-
you wouldn't even get to be Riker in the holodeck, and you'd be getting buzzed. It's like, Captain, we need you on the bridge. 1 second, I'm in the middle of this.
It's funny that you say that because I always wanted to be Riker and all that, but you know who I identified with the most? Barclay.
Yep.
Oh, Berkeley.
100%
Yeah,
hilarious that you said that. I mean, I was so shy, especially when I was watching the show, that like his quote of, I'm the guy, he was saying in one of his therapy sessions, he said, I'm the guy who, before every party, I practice who I'm going to talk to and what I'm going to say, but at the party, I end up talking to the plant. That was me.
That's Charlie
At that
Brown.
time.
Yeah.
100%. You?
So I've learned over the years that people don't listen to me. That it's never been more evident than when I will be Admiral Adama
leader
when we're
for a
playing.
podcast.
Yeah, when we're playing the Battlestar Galactica board game, and it's like,
Cylon.
no, we need to. No, I've never been a Cylon. I always want to, and I'm never a Cylon. But I have a feeling that one of these massive capital ships, if I'm at the helm, people are going to be like, did he just tell us to? No, I'm going to do my own thing. So I think that and this is the ship I've always wanted since I was a kid. I really want an X-Wing. Like, I know it's a one-man ship, but just to have an X-Wing fighter, it's like, basically, I'd be singing at the top of my lungs like I do in my car.
Poor robot.
Yeah, but R2 would be...
Oh, but with R2?
R2 would be totally like, it would be great because he'd be, providing the music and stuff like that. And, R2 is nice. He likes me. I have to believe that.
Yeah, until the third rendition of In the Heights, and then he's like, you know what, I'm out.
I think that's much crueler.
I'm doing Hamilton rap battles with R2-D2.
That's a much crueler fate than killing off a captain.
Yeah.
To subject a poor helpless droid.
Hear about
to
R2? Committed suicide. Yeah.
Luke's not using it. He's off standing in the middle of space Scotland,
Suicide? Droidicide?
Yeah, that's an
Droidicide?
Yeah.
Droidicide.
Droidicide.
And with that...
I have a question for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have a
Sure.
question for you if you're about to wrap up.
Yeah, go for it.
So that you watched it later in life, you watched it all, you reintroduced to it, but I'm curious, do you wish you would have watched it when you were younger, or are you glad you watched it after having a bunch of life experiences and you're mostly an adult?
I have two really quick answers to that. One, I think I don't know if I would have been able to have fully appreciated it as a kid because the stories are deep. Like, when there's like a monster of the week, you know where the story's going, but there are enough elements to it that maybe when I was younger, I wouldn't have been able to fully appreciate it. I would have been like, I want more episodes where the ship is firing stuff. But also, I think the other answer is, and this is such a silly thing to think about, but when I was younger, there was much more of a Star Wars, Star Trek divide. It was really the fandom wars. Like, I remember going on AOL and like chat rooms and yeah, exactly. And AOL. People like, I'd be talking about Star Wars and people are like, Star Trek's the best. And it was like the dumbest stuff imaginable. And I think that now that like nerd society and culture is so like prevalent right now, there's a lot more of overlap and that has kind of gone away. And I was thinking about this earlier today. I think a big reason that that's happened is because of Twilight. And it's because no, listen.
Their faces,
Twilight,
by the way, you can't see them, but they're like disgusted.
I think that
glittery vampires totally makes sense.
I think that Twilight fandom did something to where people who've been parts of fandoms for decades beforehand kind of came together and been like, what is this? No, and I don't mean to disparage you if you're a Twilight fan, but I remember being at Comic-Con for the first time, and it was like right when I think the second Twilight movie was coming about, and like there were massive lines for it, and you know everyone who's dressed up for other fandoms are like, what is this? It's like I'm going over to the Marvel booth. It's like I want to get my book signed by so and so, and I think we weirdly united in our hatred of this shiny new fandom.
Independence Day.
Yeah, and
no, this is true because why bash Star Trek when you can bash Twilight?
Wait, but I'm gonna throw something out there though, which is that I see where you're going with this, and I don't want to disparage those people for getting into a fandom because I feel like that did lead them into other fandoms.
Absolutely,
like
and that is the best thing that came out.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Anytime you get someone, jumping on board with new genres and new ideas and really just becoming passionate about something. So I kind of see where you're saying, although.
But it was like a weird uniting of the fandom.
Of my enemy is my friend.
Exactly. And also, I think what also helped in that is that we had a couple of bad Star Wars movies. So the ratio of good movies and bad movies started to like level out the scales a little bit. And it was like, all right, let's hug it out. I want to thank everyone for being a part of this. I want to thank everyone for listening. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at MyNerdyYear and Instagram, MyNerdyYear. Please subscribe. Please comment, like. We will be more than happy to read your tweets. Yeah, and thank you again to David Blue and to Bridget Bose and Lauren Bergher, as always. Join us next time when we will be discussing Doctor Who. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to My Nerdy Year. Our theme song, Crunk Night, is written and performed by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com and is licensed under Creative Commons. For full credits and for more information about the show, please visit mynerdyyear.wordpress.com.